They say all sleep habits are good for the brain, healthy and harmless. But today, I urgently need to warn you about something that very few people know or understand. One of them, which you probably do almost every evening, thinking you're protecting yourself, could be putting your brain's health and memory at serious risk after the age of 60. I have seen many of my patients over the decades who follow it nightly with pride, firmly believing it is helping them sleep better and protecting against diseases without imagining for a second that it might be dangerously disturbing brain function and dramatically increasing the risk of memory loss that happens without warning. What is most worrying and frightening about all this is that it's not just one isolated habit, but 7 extremely common evening routines that can become dangerous and even fatal if not adjusted properly or performed at the wrong time. I am Ricardo Salvatierra, a neurologist specialized in brain health and Alzheimer's prevention with over 25 years of clinical experience helping older adults keep their minds strong, sharp, and completely clear without heavy medication. Now that you know about this hidden risk that few doctors openly mention, I want us to analyze each of these 7 dangerous evening habits together with full attention. Because it is not about completely eliminating all of them from your routine, creating unnecessary panic, but about deeply understanding when and how they can become extremely dangerous, specifically for the aging brain of an older adult. And we will start immediately with one that absolutely surprises most of my patients every time I mention it. Many are shocked. Some even refuse to believe it at first. For entire decades, this evening routine was proudly presented as the ultimate emblem of perfect health everywhere. We were told repeatedly that it relaxed the body, improved circulation, and kept the mind eternally calm and peaceful. And they weren't completely wrong about some real benefits. But after the age of 60, things changed radically inside the body in ways that no one explains to you. And this is exactly where this apparently noble and harmless routine can transform into a silent and treacherous enemy of your brain without you noticing anything. I have seen this countless times in my daily clinical practice over more than 2 decades. Older adults who arrive at my office genuinely worried because, despite following healthy routines disciplinedly, they experience unexplained insomnia, growing memory problems, or mental fog that doesn't clear with rest. When we carefully review their entire evening routine step by step, a clear pattern emerges repeatedly. This specific habit every single night without exception. And they don't do this with bad intentions or ignorance. Quite the contrary. They are simply following advice that worked perfectly in their youth, completely unaware that the body does not react the same way after 65 when everything slows. Metabolism changes, the brain loses efficiency, neural pathways become rigid, and what once helped may now silently obstruct. The key is in the how and when you follow it, not necessarily whether you follow it or not. You don't need to be afraid and completely eliminate these routines forever, creating unnecessary restrictions. But you absolutely need to respect certain times of the evening and certain dangerous combinations that no one teaches you. But before we reveal which these 7 dangerous evening routines are and how to properly protect your brain, if you are finding this video important and useful so far, leave a powerful like right now for the algorithm to show it to more people who urgently need this information that can save lives. Subscribe to the channel now to receive weekly honest medical alerts about brain health after 60 that your doctors don't have time to explain. And activate the notification bell to never miss videos like this that can literally prevent memory loss. Comment down below urgently. How old are you and which of these evening routines do you follow every night without knowing the danger? I want to know your story and help you personally with specific guidance. Now, let's dive into the first evening routine on this dangerous list that will completely shock you. It's relaxing, it's considered super healthy, and you're probably doing it tonight, waiting to fall asleep peacefully. The first evening routine on our list that can become dangerous for your brain after 60 is taking a hot bath right before bed. And I know this will shock many people watching right now. For entire decades, hot baths before bed were presented as the ultimate emblem of perfect relaxation, the routine we should all follow nightly without question. We were told repeatedly since childhood that it relaxed tense muscles, improved blood circulation, and prepared the body for deep, restful sleep. And they weren't completely wrong about these real and proven benefits. Hot baths are indeed very effective at relieving physical tension, reducing stress hormones, and promoting initial drowsiness that feels pleasant. But after the age of 60, things change radically inside the body in ways that absolutely no one explains to you in quick consultations. And this is exactly where this apparently noble and harmless routine can transform into a silent and treacherous enemy of your brain without you noticing absolutely anything until it's too late. I have seen this happen countless times in my daily clinical practice over more than 2 decades attending to seniors. Older adults who arrive at my office genuinely worried and confused because despite following relaxing evening routines and trying everything for better sleep, they experience unexplained night wakings, severe morning grogginess, or persistent memory problems that don't improve even with medication. When we meticulously review their entire evening routine, activity by activity, step by step, a clear and undeniable pattern emerges repeatedly. Hot baths taken every night without exception, sometimes within 30 minutes of bedtime. And they don't do this with bad intentions or deliberate ignorance. Quite the contrary, they are simply following relaxation advice that worked perfectly in their youth when they were 30 or 40, completely unaware that the human body does not react in the same magical way after 65 when absolutely everything progressively changes. Let me explain exactly why this happens at the physiological level. Your body temperature naturally drops in the evening as part of the circadian rhythm that signals sleep time. This cooling process is absolutely essential for entering deep, restorative sleep stages where memory consolidation happens. When you are young and resilient, your body can quickly regulate temperature changes without difficulty, cooling down efficiently after a hot bath. But with the relentless passage of time, this thermoregulation system becomes sluggish and inefficient, like a broken thermostat. When you take a very hot bath right before bed after 60, you artificially raise your core body temperature at exactly the wrong time. Your aging body then struggles desperately for hours, trying to cool down enough to enter deep sleep. This disrupts the natural sleep architecture, keeping you in light, fragmented sleep stages instead of the deep restorative phases your brain desperately needs for memory processing and cellular repair. Imagine trying to fall asleep in a room that's too warm. You toss and turn uncomfortably, never quite reaching that deep, peaceful state. This is exactly what happens internally when your core temperature remains elevated. Your brain cannot properly transition into the delta wave sleep stage, where toxins are cleared and memories are consolidated. Over weeks and months, this chronic disruption leads to progressive cognitive decline that you attribute to normal aging when it's actually preventable. I vividly remember a specific patient, Mrs. Elena Torres, a lovely and elegant 71-year-old retired librarian. She came to my office after months of worsening memory problems that frightened her deeply. She would forget conversations from the previous day, misplace items constantly, and feel mentally foggy throughout the morning hours. She initially thought it was early Alzheimer's disease. Detailed cognitive tests showed her memory centers were intact structurally, but her sleep quality was severely compromised. When we deeply analyzed her entire evening routine, we found a seemingly harmless and relaxing habit. Every night at 9:30 p.m., without exception, she took a long hot bath for 30 minutes, then went directly to bed at 10 p.m. She had been doing this religiously for 5 years, ever since her doctor recommended it for her arthritis pain. Her sleep tracker data revealed she was spending most of the night in light sleep stages, barely reaching any deep sleep at all. Her brain was being deprived of the crucial deep sleep phases needed for memory consolidation and toxin clearance. Elena looked at me with tears in her eyes and said something that marked me. "Doctor, I was just trying to take care of my aching body. How could relaxation harm my mind?" I have heard this devastating sentence more times than I would like throughout my career, because this is exactly the central problem here. It is not the hot bath itself that is the villain, but the timing and temperature. The body after 60 needs a longer cooling period before sleep. What once helped you relax may now be sabotaging the very sleep you're trying to achieve. The key is in when and how hot you take the bath, not whether you should or should not take one. You absolutely do not need to completely eliminate baths from your life, creating unnecessary fear, but you must respect the timing window. If you genuinely enjoy hot baths and want to continue taking them, schedule them at least 2 to 3 hours before bedtime when the body has sufficient time to cool down naturally. Keep the water warm, but not scalding hot around body temperature rather than uncomfortably hot. And consider ending with a brief cool rinse to signal the cooling process your brain needs. In my extensive clinical experience, this simple timing adjustment can make an absolutely dramatic difference between restless nights and restorative sleep. Many patients who moved their hot bath from 9 p.m. to 7 p.m. reported falling asleep faster, sleeping more deeply, and waking with clearer minds within just 2 weeks. The bath remains therapeutic for pain and stress, but now it works with your biology instead of against it. What is genuinely dangerous and must be avoided is taking very hot baths within 1 hour of bedtime, especially if you're already experiencing memory problems or poor sleep quality. Your aging brain needs that natural temperature drop to function properly during sleep. Now let's move to the second evening routine that also surprises with its popularity, and many follow it thinking it helps the brain, when in reality it can dangerously disrupt memory formation. The second evening routine on our list that can become dangerous for the brain after 60 is watching intense television or using bright screens right before sleep. And you probably do it regularly, thinking you are unwinding. How many times have we heard that watching TV helps us relax after a long day? It seems like the perfect way to transition from the stress of the day to peaceful sleep. And in some ways, passive entertainment can provide mental distraction from worries. But there is a disturbing reality that very few older adults know or understand. After 60, bright screen exposure in the evening can become a silent and serious threat to memory consolidation and sleep quality. Not because of the content itself, but because of how it dangerously disrupts the brain's natural preparation for restorative sleep. Let me explain something I have seen repeatedly in my clinical practice over decades. Older adults who pride themselves on staying mentally active watch educational programs, follow the news religiously, or enjoy evening movies as part of their daily routine. Everything seems perfectly reasonable and harmless until one day, without any prior warning, they realize their memory has significantly declined and sleep has become increasingly elusive. And when we meticulously review their evening habits, screen time dominates the final hours before bed. The real problem is not the mental stimulation or entertainment value, but the intense blue light emission and cognitive arousal that accumulates. Modern screens emit powerful blue wavelength light that directly suppresses melatonin production in the aging brain. Melatonin is the crucial hormone that signals sleep time and facilitates the transition into deep memory consolidating sleep stages. When you are young and resilient, your melatonin system is robust enough to overcome some evening light exposure. But as we age, melatonin production naturally declines by up to 50%, making older adults extraordinarily vulnerable to even small amounts of blue light disruption. Let me detail this simply and clearly for you to fully understand. Your brain contains specialized cells in the retina that detect blue light and send signals to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, your master biological clock. When these cells detect blue light in the evening, they interpret it as daytime and actively suppress melatonin release, keeping you alert when you should be winding down. For older adults whose melatonin systems are already compromised, this suppression can delay sleep onset by hours and reduce total deep sleep by 30 to 40%. The consequence is devastating for memory. During deep sleep, your brain transfers information from temporary storage in the hippocampus to permanent storage in the cortex. This process, called memory consolidation, is absolutely essential for retaining new information and maintaining cognitive function. When screen light disrupts this process night after night, memories simply fail to form properly, leading to the progressive forgetfulness that terrifies so many seniors.